enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, consulted against thy hidden ones, and they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. It says, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. They already know who like to promote that Confederate stuff the most. In verse 6 it says, the tabernacles of Edom, that was the main culprit, the Ishmaelites, and of Moab, and the Hagarenes. Now when you go out through the ghettos in the different stores, who run these stores? Edom, Ishmael, and Moab. They're the main ones. Moab being your forefather of Chinese and different people that's similar to that. Ishmael, you go to them Habibi stores. That's Ishmael, man. You go in there and see that too. They know they descend from Ishmael. Edomites, they run a lot of the properties, whether it be housing developments, different suburbs, or whatever the scenario is. And you got the rest of the other nations too. You got Gabal and Amalek. Amalek definitely run a lot of stuff, especially up here where I'm at. Amalek got their hands in a lot of different stuff, mainly them synagogues. It says the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Now, I ain't gonna read on no more. It just goes into who took this crafty counsel to cut us off. So that's why a lot of people don't know who they are. And in order to know where we're going, you gotta know who we are. In order to understand these scriptures as well, you gotta know who is who. Because somebody can lie to you and be like, oh yeah, Esau, he don't even exist no more. They was done away with. Ain't no Edomites no more. I can go walk outside right now and go see a damn Edomite. That's not what they call now. They just changed the names up. But they still here. They ain't went nowhere. And they still doing the same shit. And I'm gonna go into one more preset real quick and I'm gonna let this video play. And the characteristics don't change, man. Don't change at all. It's in the book of Obadiah. We start at verse 2. It says, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. And that's what you got going on. Like in this one video I had queued up. I was just looking at just for a little edification and a little laugh's sake. Got to have a little fun with it. The actual guy, the foreign minister, he was like, hey, man, they was basically calling him and buying buddies before. And he was like, man, wait, let me let this play. I'll let it play, then I'll come back to this other video so you can hear
Liberty Mutual customized my car insurance, so I only pay for what I need. What a great day. One note.
So we were never buddies.
Make it clear, Joe Biden and I were not buddies. We represented two different countries with different policies. He was a senator and I was a permanent representative to the United Nations. We had many civilized meetings in which we disagreed, but with civility. And I think that is the basis for understanding. But again, it's not the issue of who's in the White House. It's the issue for us is what they do. If you look at the JCPO...
Exactly. I'm going to just pause that right there. I ain't got to play no more. Because, hey, just as well as they put a new person in, different devil, same spirit. That's all it is, man. Let me go back to this other video real quick. Now it says, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. These other nations, they hate Esau. You ever go travel across seas? They don't be tripping on us like that. And you know what I mean by us. They always mention somebody else coming over and fucking shit up. I wonder why. Now it says, the pride of thy heart hath deceived thee. Now the dwellers in the cliffs of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as an eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, because that's what they doing, setting their nest among the stars. That's how you know who's who. Because if they don't exist no more, who's setting their nest up in the stars? It says, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. It says, if thieves came to thee, if robbers came by night, how art thou cut off? But they have not stolen till they had enough. But Esau is so fucking thirsty, they can go strip the land and get everything that they need. They gonna replant the shit and make it modified just so they can keep stripping it. That's how they play, man. It says, where they have not stolen till they had enough, if the grape gatherers came to thee, where they had not, would they not leave some grapes? Esau ain't leaving no grapes. They find a grape tree, they gonna uproot that shit and keep the original and take it in the lab somewhere and make a GMO tree and plant it. Now it says in verse 6, how the things Esau searched out, how his hidden things sought up. The Most High put the spirit on certain men to research all this stuff. That's why you might have people that you meet, it might see you might be boring or whatever. Man, fuck all that, man. It's real stuff that's going on outside of the little folly that's going on that you can learn from and actually edify other people with. So that's how they get searched out. Because this take time, leisure time. I could be doing something else or be somewhere else, but this is what I'm doing right now. It says in verse 7, all the men thy confederacy have brought thee, even to the border, the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him, I should say. It says, shall I not in that day, said the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom and understanding out of the mount of Esau? Read on some more. It says, and thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed to the end, that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. For thy violence against our brother Jacob's shame shall cover thee. And they shame. That's why that one guy was like, oh, let's not use that word. Because he know that word colonizer actually come from. And who were the fucking colonizers? But let me let this play.
The moon. Countries are battling for the right to begin mining operations on the moon for the minerals. Turns out it's mineral rich. Here's RT's turn it.
Yeah, here they go. They don't strip so many minerals. That's why the scripture say, right? Let me go back up. Here they go, looking for minerals. The earth supposed to have minerals. What they been doing with it? It says, if thieves came to thee and robbers by night, how art thou cut off? For they have not stolen till they had enough. If the grape gatherers came to thee, will they have not leave some grapes? And hey, they ain't trying to leave shit. They trying to strip the earth and go to a whole nother planet and keep doing the same shit.
Chavez with the next gold rush.
If the Most High ain't step in and do some divine intervention, these Edomites, they'll find a way to go through space and colonize the whole fucking galaxy. But that ain't going down there.
It's been almost 50 years since we last went to the moon, and while there has been renewed interest to go back, ever since experts indicated that asteroid and moon mining could be worth trillions of dollars, space mining could be the next frontier. Today, as the race to space continues, there's growing concern over potential conflict between some major key players. China, Russia, and the U.S. trying to dominate extraterrestrial commerce as well. How? Through space mining. After experts estimated the industry could be worth trillions and even quadrillions of dollars, there has been growing interest by governments around the world to embark on this venture. When President Trump was in office, he proposed framework for mining on the moon called Artemis Accords, encouraging citizens to mine the Earth's natural satellite and other celestial bodies with commercial purposes. The directive classified outer space as a legally and physically unique domain of human activity instead of global commons, paving the way for mining the moon without any sort of international treaty.
All of our international partners who are joining us today in the Artemis Accords, let's sign.
NASA spearheaded the initiative, and the Artemis Accords were signed in October by Australia, Canada, England, Japan, Luxembourg, Italy, and the United Emirates. But failing to engage China and Russia in the Artemis Accords, the Trump administration was accused of exacerbating a national security threat. Eliot Haishman, former legislative director for then-Republican Michelle Grissom, said in a statement, unfortunately, the Trump administration exacerbated a national security threat and risked the economic opportunity it hoped to secure in outer space by failing to engage Russia or China as potential partners. Instead, the Artemis Accords have driven China and Russia toward increased cooperation in space out of fear and necessity. Meantime, according to reports...
Oh, what they say out of what?
Meantime, according to reports... cooperation in space out of fear and necessity.
Now, why is it a necessity? Let me go to this. I wasn't even going to pull this precept. I'm glad I happened to hear that. Go to it real quick. So the book of Obadiah says in verse 15, it said, "For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen." And look at how they actually joining together. So eventually they're going to end up going in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Some going to pop off to where they actually do it all over in that region. What you see happening now, they're going to fight each other. As they fight each other, all this going to actually happen once the mark of the beast be made mandatory. But as they fight each other, in the midst of that fight, you're going to see Yahweh Shai, along with the angels, come back. As I mentioned in the book of Acts, when it says the same way you see him being taken up is the same way you should come. So the same way he left is how he going to come back, man. Ain't no way around it. These are the type of topics that people be scared to touch on, because when he come back, it ain't gonna be sweet for everybody. It says, "As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee." Hold up, that sound like karma. Ain't that some karma? That's what people be calling karma. You reap what you sow. How people always talking about what you put in the universe, it come back to you. Hey man, the same shit these heathens said, and mainly these Edomites. As thou hast done, it should be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thy own head, man. That's what's gonna happen, man. Let me go down some more. Let me see what other precept I want to pull out of this. That's it for that one. I'm gonna pull the second Ezra and then I'll end this up. Book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13. I'm going to read on down. I'm going to start at verse 5. It says, "After this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven." That's where these different nations from, four winds. It says, "to subdue the man that came out of the sea." Now, what man is that? You read the book of Revelation to let you know, the book of Acts let you know, and various others. It says, "But I beheld, and lo, he had himself a great mountain, and flew upon it. But I would have seen a region, a place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they was gathered together," because that's what you see going on, them gathering together, these different nations. Gathered together to subdue him, was sore afraid, and yet durst fight. Now listen to what they say. Now let me run this back one more time.
Have driven China and Russia toward increased cooperation in space out of fear and necessity.
Why are they fearing? Because they know this actually gonna take place, man. These scholars, like I said, as well as I can sit down and break these precepts down, I might have a more clear understanding than some of those scholars. But they know about certain precepts, and they know certain prophecy definitely gonna come to pass, because this never happened yet. It says, "And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath. Out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon the son of a innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid." So, hey, when certain men see this, hey, it's gonna be something heavy to see. This ain't gonna just be dang. It's gonna be real spooky looking, because just to see something angelic come from outer space, when they clearly try to tell you there's green aliens or reptilians or gray men or whatever, the Galactic Federation. When you see some dark-skinned men by them ships, and they ain't coming to give out no flowers and no daisies, that's gonna shake up a lot of people, man. And mainly them Edomites, because they know they can't do nothing about it.
Meantime, according to reports since the announcement of the Artemis Accords, China approached Russia with proposals to jointly build a lunar research base, but experts think trouble could be brewing. Policy experts Anne-Marie Slaughter and Emily Lawrence told Mining.com America and China should cooperate in space. If the U.S. managed to coordinate with the Soviet Union on space policy during the Cold War, it can find a way to cooperate with China now. Without an international framework that includes all major spacefaring countries, the moon could become the next Wild West. Again, experts believe that space mining could be an extremely valuable market.
That's all I'm gonna pull on that. I'm gonna pull this last precept and I'm gonna end this up. It's in the book of Joel chapter. I'm gonna start out. Since Joel chapter 3, I'm gonna start at verse 1. It says, "For behold, in those days, and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land." So, how you gonna plead with them is what I read in 2nd Ezra. Because they're going to actually be fighting each other. And they're going to stop fighting each other. And they're going to see what's coming. And then they're going to link up and try to fight what's coming. And it ain't going down. And it says, and just to clarify the people who the Most High fighting for, it says, and they have cast lots for my people. Who they cast lots for, who they made slave lots for. It says, they have given a boy for a harlot, I sold a girl for wine that they might drink. Who they did that to? Push the emotions to the side, and all that emotional shit. Logically speaking, who they did that to the most? Who they gave a boy for a harlot? And this wasn't that long ago either. They sold a girl for wine that they might drink. And they still put it in certain movies now.